who cares nothing for others, only their own self-interest. The bottom line is all that it cares for. You're going to trade away democracy with that?
We need like a little...
Do you really want to live in a culture that pays psychopaths the most money? All of us? Well, that's what's happening. And that is a dangerous thing. And I think it's a time for America to look at its landscape and preserve what's good and to really challenge ourselves to not lose democracy. Thank you all for being here, expressing yourself. Democracy is not for sale. It's already been sold. So it's time to take it back.
Yes, it is.
The McCutcheon Brewery last Wednesday.
More of the companies come around with their money greasing palms and making it too seductive. This is related to what happens in SCOTUS. So there's room to work at all levels. Thank you.
Yeah!
Hey, John.
Yeah, is there
So, pleased to introduce John Boniface from Free Speech for People. He's spoken here at the church next door on the importance of Citizens United. He's a great scholar, a lawyer who follows this issue nationally as a national organization, and it's a great honor to introduce him. Please step closer so you can hear. Come on in closer.
Thank you, Davio.
Davio!
And thank you all for being out here for our democracy. This is about our democracy.
Absolutely!
The United States Supreme Court has struck another blow against fair elections, against the promise of political equality for all, and against our democracy. And we must fight back. I'm going to focus on three major flaws of this ruling in McCutcheon v. FEC issued this past Wednesday. Flaw number one. The idea that money equals speech.
It doesn't!
This is a flaw that goes back to the 1976 ruling in Buckley v. Vallejo, which sanctioned today's system of unlimited campaign spending. Money does not equal speech. Money is an amplifier to speech. I have this microphone. I can be heard more loudly. If you have a lot of money, you can be heard more loudly, and you drown out other people's speech.
Yes.
And the fact is, there is no First Amendment right to drown out other people's speech. Flaw number two. The United States Supreme Court says in this ruling that there is no threat of corruption by lifting these contribution limits and allowing the very rich to spend even more money in our elections. They say the threat only comes with quid pro quo corruption. But that is not the definition of corruption. That is not what corruption is about. It is not only quid pro quo. It is access. It is the ability to be heard in the halls of power in Washington and every state capital. And they are wrong on that. Corruption is alive and well because of this United States Supreme Court. Flaw number three. This court, these five justices, completely ignore the basic promise of political equality for all, a promise embedded in our Constitution, a promise embedded in the Equal Protection Clause, and the Supreme Court has made clear in prior cases, barring the poll tax, barring candidate filing fees, that wealth has no determining factor in our elections. That is the promise of one person, one vote. One person, one vote. And this court completely ignores that fundamental value of political equality for all. They say in their ruling that there is no We do that all the time. On the floor of the United States House of Representatives, on the floor of the U.S. Senate, in town meetings, in city council chambers. We allow other voices to be heard. We allow a level playing field. That's what American democracy is about. A level playing field. Equality for all. This Supreme Court is wrong. We have to fight back. We need public funding of elections. We need transparency.
That's right.
We need shareholder accountability. But most of all, the overarching frame, we need to overrule this United States Supreme Court with a constitutional amendment. A 28th Amendment to the Constitution that makes clear that we, the people, rule in America. Right. We have done this before in our nation's history. 27 times before. 7 times to overturn egregious Supreme Court rulings. We have done it to expand our democracy and to defend our democracy. We can and we must do it again. In the name of Granny D, Doris Haddock, it is time for a 28th Amendment to the Constitution to lift up that promise of American democracy and make clear that we, the people, rule. Thank you very much.
One man, one vote. One person, one vote. Represent Lindsay, represent us. Local operation working nationally around this terrible, terrible situation. Lindsay.
Hey everyone, I have no idea how I'm going to be able to follow that. But I'm really excited to be here and to see so many different people coming together from so many different groups who really care a lot about this issue. It's really exciting in time, even after this horrible ruling. So I'll just tell you a little bit more about Represent Us and what we're doing here locally and all across the country. My name is Lindsay, and I'm a volunteer organizer here in Massachusetts District 2, working with Represent Us. We're a nonpartisan grassroots campaign organizing around a really, really cool comprehensive proposal called the American Anti-Corruption Act. So the American Anti-Corruption Act was crafted by some of the top constitutional lawyers, advocates from both sides of the aisle, specifically Harvard professor Lawrence Lessig and FEC chairman Trevor Potter. And what I really, really love about the American Anti-Corruption Act is it's still constitutional, even in the face of this horrible ruling. Some of the main things that it would do is it would stop politicians from taking bribes from industries that they regulate. Number 2, it would stop, it would limit super PACs pretty severely, like 80%, and empower voters with public funding in the form of a tax relief. And then the last thing is it would end secret money by requiring full transparency around all campaign spending. So we are working to get 1 million citizen co-sponsors all across the country for this act. And that's what it's going to take to drown out the special interest and to show that we have a ton of people power all across the country. We're looking to get all 435 congressional districts or their member of Congress on the record as either for or against the American Anti-Corruption Act. So they're either corrupt or anti-corrupt. We are really fortunate here in Massachusetts District 2. We expect Jim McGovern to be really supportive, but we still need to show a ton of people power from District 2 in order to get him to be a total champion on this issue. So if you're interested in joining our local team here in District 2 or anywhere else across the country, you should see us or talk to us a little bit about the campaigns and on the website. It's represent.us. You can sign up to volunteer, get involved that way. We're also planning a really cool event over the next week. We're planning events called Representation Day all across the country. So the idea is that on April 15th, Americans will pay taxes to a government that does not represent us.
That's right!
That's totally wrong.
Yeah.
So we are organizing a Representation Day to draw attention to this issue, get a ton of media coverage all organizing a carpool from Western Mass out to Boston. We're going to be at Faneuil Hall and have a big event, hand out an Onion-style newspaper of stories that would actually take place if we pass the American Anti-Corruption Act. Stamp your money with stamps not to be used for bribing politicians.
I have a stamp.
Awesome. Nice. Sign a petition in support of the American Anti-Corruption Act. So we're doing that next Saturday. Talk to us if you're interested in that. And then also on April 15th here locally next Tuesday, we're doing a bunch of events as well. Thursday at the intersection of routes 5 and 9, big rally, and then also at the post office before. Steve Boylan will be organizing a post office as next tax day. So talk to him if you're interested in that. Again, so excited to see a lot of you guys out here and support.
Thank you, Lindsay. Those that want to speak, maybe you can come up and be
It's already sold.
Here's David. Listen up to David.
Mic check.
Woo! We can
Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
So what about McCutcheon? What about McCutcheon?
What about McCutcheon?
What about McCutcheon?
What about McCutcheon?
Why should I give a damn?
Should I give a damn?
Why should I give a damn?
Why should I give a damn?
Hey, that's a good question.
Hey, that's a good question.
Why should we give a damn?
Why should we give a damn?
So I got some numbers.
So I got some numbers.
Are you ready for some numbers?
You ready for some
In
numbers?
the last election,
In the last election,
how much more money
how much more money
did winners spend than losers?
do winners spend on losers?
Think about it for a second.
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 How much more money
How much more money
did winners spend than losers?
did winners spend on losers?
Maybe twice as much?
Maybe twice as much?
5 times as much?
5 times as much?
10 times as much?
10 times as much?
Try 20 times as much?
Try 20 times as much?
That's 20 times as much.
That's 20 times as much.
So if you're going to think
So if you're gonna think
that money doesn't matter,
that money doesn't matter,
remember 20 times as much.
remember 20 times as much.
Here's another number.
Here's another number.
In the last election,
In the last election,
how many people
how many people
gave more than $200?
gave more than $200?
Here's the answer.
Here's the answer.
Less than half of 1%.
Less than half of 1%.
Half of 1%
Half of 1%
gave 2/3 of all the money.
is 2/3 of all the money.
Raising the election.
Raising the election.
This democracy
This democracy
was founded on
was founded on
a few important principles.
a few important principles.
One of the most important is
One of the most important is
one person, one vote.
one person, one vote.
One person, one vote.
One person, one vote.
So now what we have,
So now what we have,
lots of money buys a vote.
lots of money buys a vote.
But we're going to change that.
But we're gonna change that.
We're going to change that.
But we're gonna change that.
What you going to do?
What you gonna do?
What are you going to do?
What are you gonna do?
In the system of corruption.
In the system of corruption.
In American politics.
In American politics.
All right, who's next? Don't forget those numbers.
It's my honor to introduce from the League of Women Voters, the co-director of the League in Amherst. The League of Women Voters has been the leader in trying to get good election campaign laws since the 1970s and earlier. And they are a great resource. Those of you who don't know the League should join up. You have a great organization.
The League has been fighting for people's rights since their inception. We came about through the suffragette movement giving women the right to vote. The women's right to vote was turned down by the Supreme Court. We had to stand up, we had to get into the street, and it was not a pretty scene, but women stood up, they got the vote, and now we are part of the democracy. But now our democracy is being closed to everyone except for a small fraction of people whose voice is the only voice that is being heard. And our issues, the people's issues, our communities, our education, our health care are all in jeopardy. And we need to take our voices and put them in the streets again and demand once again that the Supreme Court, that 5 people cannot change our democracy. It is 5 men who have done this to our country, and we need to take back our rights. We need our issues to be of concern in this country. So please join the effort. Get your friends. People have done this in the United States time and again. They've stood up to this power and they have taken their voices to make our democracy work. We can do it again if we have the will, and we need to have the will, and we need to do it now. There is momentum, and there is a number of movements going on now that are joining hands in partnership, and we can participate in that, and please join in. Thank you so much.
Hi folks!
Hey!
Rockstars are coming out here today. And this is great, but where are all the young folks in this movement?
Right here.
No, young people. Why does this movement have more dogs than young people? More dogs. Into the mic. Call out to all the young people in Northampton, College Town. If you believe in anything worth believing in, reproductive justice, environmental justice, then you need to believe in campaign finance reform. So, I would love to introduce Zoe Joya, the next campaign finance reform leader.
I'm so disappointed by the lack of young people here. We need to make this movement sexier. There are so many young people who will get behind reproductive justice, environmental justice, but absolutely nothing in this country will change if special interests are buying our politicians. That's the most important issue of my generation.
It is.
This is our future of democracy. So I'm gonna work to bring out the young people.
That's my girl!
Campaign finance.
That's true. I'm 75 years old. I was around for the civil rights movement. Not a heck of a lot has changed. But what I'm seeing that's very, very inspiring for me is all of you out here talking, speaking up, speaking out, being truthful, being transparent, being honest, and challenging those who are not honest. You know, who are hurting us really, really, really badly. I'm inspired by the few young people that are here. In Massachusetts yesterday. So, you know, I just feel good that at 75 years old, there's a lot of y'all out here who's going to take care of me when I can't do it anymore. So keep on keeping on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Alright, who's gonna sing?
I'll take
I can do it for someone else.
Let's hear for Davio, everybody, who brought this mic down here and propelled free speech into our lives. Let's hear for Davio. Come on up here and give us a little message and bring forward the closure to this amazing event.
So, my dear friends, we've heard from wonderful people, none that I was more excited by than our young person saying she's going to deliver the young people. Because the League of Women Voters is suffering from lack of young people. Most of them have gray hair, and we're wondering where the young folks are. And when she said this is the most important issue for our generation, it certainly is. It's a little like climate change, you know. Once the tundra starts to give up all that methane, it's too late. And once Congress gets used to being on their knees to the wealthy, instead of doing the job they're elected to do, when they're used to spending 40 to 70% of their time on the phone, trying to cling to their jobs, instead of doing the job of representing us in the U.S. Congress, we really are at a tipping point. There is a great bill, House Resolution 20 by John Sarbanes from Maryland. It has over 100 co-sponsors. It's sitting in the House.
Right.
But of course the House is controlled by John Boehner, Democrat from Ohio, who is the single largest fundraiser in the Congress. He has $17 million, I think, in his war chest right now, and all he needs to do is pick up the phone to his rich friends, and the dollars will come flashing into his treasure chest. The ruling by the Supreme Court means that instead of the mere $130,000 or so that rich people have been giving, they can now give $3.3 million to candidates in this next election cycle. What that means to me, as much as I hate to do it, is that we have to dig into our pockets and give money to the people we want to represent us, or else their voices will be drowned out by the millions of dollars coming from the Koch brothers and from Adelson, the great magnate of the casino industry, and from all the money from ExxonMobil, and money from people like Sean McCutcheon, who brought this case with the Republican National Committee before the Supreme Court, because the poor guy really felt terrible that he could only give $120,000 to support his Republican right-wing candidates, and he felt his rights were being trampled upon by the government, that he should be able to give unlimited money, and now he can. The only answer is for us to dig into our pockets, as much as we hate to do it, and give money to the candidates that will protect us. I do want to say something about Massachusetts. Our Office of Campaign Finance is pretty darn good, and our system is pretty darn good in comparison with other states. But some states are doing better. Connecticut has really gone quite a bit further, and we could do something at the state level to get more small donation campaign finance reform. And we could ask our people to fight for it. I think they're in favor. Our local reps and senators favor that in general. Ellen Story is for it, Kokot's for it, Kulik's for it, but there's stuff to be done here. At the national level, I just am going to encourage everyone to dig deep and give in those swing states so that we can hold on to the Senate. You may have heard that Silver is Nate Silver, the guy that called it the last time, thinks we're going to lose the Senate. And the fear of that is that we will not give money. We'll think they're all corrupt. They're not all corrupt. This McCutcheon decision was brought to us by the Republican National Committee. It was planned from the very beginning, and by the Republican appointees to the Supreme Court, to the Roberts Court. A 5-4 decision. We've simply got to hold on to our democracy by making a big, deep gift to keep people in power that will represent us. Is there anyone else who would like to come to the microphone? Sarah Carr.
I just want to say I don't differ with Davio on very many things, but there are many more of us than there are
country, and she's been a political activist since they were teenagers in the projects in Hartford, Connecticut, and actually my father's father risked his life unionizing the coal mines in West Virginia. And all of these things depended on us, just people and the numbers of people and ideas. For example, maybe if one young person who had the time or one older person who had the time stood in front somewhere on Main Street with one sign and got 10 other people to contribute. There's something about the level we're at where there's so many of us that if each of us got 10 or 20 people, it would add up that way. So don't just think of digging into your pocket, but maybe there's something you can do here on Main Street in your neighborhood to just get 5 other people to donate. It adds up that way because, of course, we're millions of people, as we always were. Thank you.
I feel inspired by those comments to just also say that I read an article recently about how, because of the state of student loans in this country, it's creating a group of young people who feel like they have no hope and nothing to offer because all they are doing is working to pay their student loans. And so we don't have the same sense of empowerment as her 93-year-old mother had when she was growing up. So just to re-inspire you again, there's millions of students in this country, millions of you, and if you just give your $5 or reach in the pocket of your 10 other people and give their 5, we've got millions to fight back with. And we could also be working for student loan reform at the same time.
I just want to put in a plug for no matter what happens at the national level, a lot of us don't realize what power we have at the local level. There's a movement that's been happening, especially in Pennsylvania, but now all across the country, community rights, where communities are passing laws that conflict with state or federal law, and the states say, oh, you can't do that. And the communities say, yes, we can. And so far it's been largely successful. The states have not managed to stop all these communities from passing laws, which could be anything from banning fracking in your community or banning certain types of campaign finance. So communities have a lot of rights that they aren't realizing, and that movement is spreading across the country. The community rights movement, there's different organizations that are working with communities to let them know they don't have to abide by state laws if they think that the state law doesn't go far enough. They can ban things that aren't banned at the state level. So communities have a lot of power that we aren't using. And here in Northampton, we can pass laws that conflict with state law, and the state can try to stop us, and we'll see what happens.
This land is your land. This land is my land. California to the New York Islands, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream Bar. This land is made for you and me. Thank you all for coming. Work for a safe and wonderful democracy. Keep it up.